East Hill Town Hall, Tourism and City Life Office. Fiona speaking. How may I help you?
Yes, hello. I don't live in East Hill, but I've just been offered a job there for a few months. It means I need to arrange to move to East Hill for the summer.
Where would you like to start?
Perhaps with accommodation?
Okay, East Hill's certainly not the easiest place to find accommodation in.
Oh dear.
But I'm not saying it's impossible. It's not that big a town, and the centre, being historic, is quite small, so demand is very high, and that's reflected in prices.
I only want a single place.
What I'd recommend to keep costs down is a shared flat. The rent would be much lower than a one-bedroom place, particularly in the centre.
I really want to maintain my privacy and get at least, say, a studio flat.
Well, that might be a compromise. I don't have any specific details. If you were already here, you could visit some of the local estate agents to get details of studio flats. But I do know that if you go onto New Home, as in oneword.com, that site has quite a few places, and there are pictures and plans and so on.
Okay, I'll just write that down. That's great, thanks.
One thing to be aware of is a new piece of legislation which means that landlords are responsible for ensuring their tenants are who they say they are. So any landlord will ask you to provide documentary evidence, and not just your passport, etc., as they always have, but now of your employment.
Right, thanks. And I guess I'll need to pay by standing order through my bank?
That's the normal way, yes. With the rent, do get clear what is and isn't part of the standard price. You'll need to know if sheets and towels are provided or whether you'd have to allow extra. Bills such as electricity are always included, but I think the phone will always be an extra. Right.
Now, what about transport?
East Hill has really good bus services. They're frequent and they go everywhere, and they're how everyone gets around. But they are quite expensive if you pay for each trip, so it's better to get a pass.
Okay.
They're available as 7-day, that's the shortest, 30-day, 90-day, which would perhaps suit you the most, and 1 year, which works out the cheapest, but might be too long for you.
Yes, it definitely would.
Is there anything else I can help you with?
Yes, I'd like to keep fit, so I'd like to know what health clubs there are in East Hill.
Okay, well, there are 2. Bloom's Leisure Centre and also the Good Life Centre. I've got some information here about them.
Would I be able to try them before actually joining?
Let's see. Yes, one of the staff at Bloom's will show you around if you go along, and then you make your decision about joining. While at the Good Life you can, they offer 2 fitness classes at no charge, so you can get a taste of what they're like. This isn't for specialist classes such as Tai Chi, it says.
It's something anyway. I'd hope to meet a few new friends at a health club, you see.
Oh yes, both clubs have cafes. If you do join Bloom's, you can elect to be a gold card member, which means you'd be entitled to a discount of 10% in the cafe there. Actually, the cafe in the Good Life is shut at the moment for refurbishment, but I guess it might be open again by the time you move here.
Does it say much about the equipment available?
Bloom's have a lot of different machines, so you can choose exactly what you want to do, while the Good Life doesn't have quite so many machines, but they're carefully sequenced so that you follow special routines. It says that these get you really fit.
Oh, sounds interesting. And I love swimming. Do they have pools?
Yes, the one at Bloom's is full size and it's outdoor, so it used to be rather chilly, except in the summer, but they've improved the situation by making it a heated one, so it feels as if you're indoors while you're swimming. The Good Life pool is just a small one, but they have covered tennis courts.
I don't play tennis. Maybe I should start. Are there trainers to help you?
Bloom's, yes, at any time, but Good Life... No, well, the trainers are fully qualified, but you must see them by appointment, not just any time.
That seems fair enough. You've been very helpful. Thank you.
Not at all. Now, would you like me to send you the information you asked? Travel broadens the mind. Well, that's what they often say. But many people, the people who are careful to describe themselves as travellers rather than tourists, claim that this is only the case in the right circumstances. And a package holiday that has you sitting on the same beach in front of the same crowded hotel for 14 consecutive days doesn't broaden the mind. There must be another way. There is. My old friend Peter, an architect, recently returned from a 3-month trip to Africa. Instead of just flying out on a bargain flight and hanging out on beautiful beaches or safari, he put his architectural training to good use and helped on a project to build a health centre for a group of villagers. He said he's made friends for life and that he knows he's contributed something of value to those people. And Peter's not alone. A survey that was published last month makes it clear that travel is changing. The idea of a tourist as someone who consumes, who takes, is being replaced by the idea of someone who gives. So tourists are thinking less about exactly where they go and more about what they do in the places they visit. The terms voluntouring and voluntourist, have come into currency recently, referring to this trend of mixing some tourism with some volunteer work. It seems to be a positive development, as long as you choose sensibly where to go and what to do. Wherever you do decide to go, be it tropical or in the Arctic Circle, you should try to put 2 or more things, projects or classes or whatever, together, so that if one doesn't turn out to be as interesting as you hoped, then at least the other should make up for it. One good thing about spending maybe a bit longer in a place is that you're more likely to learn some of the language while you're there. Now remember that the idea of giving as much as taking is important, so consider carefully what skills you have, how you could benefit a volunteering project. You won't be alone on these trips, so you need to be sure you can help the other people there over the period of time you spend there, long or short. Voluntourism also benefits you. The local people will look at you with interest. This stranger who's been transported into their midst, and usually they'll be happy, keen even to show you their way of life, the way they do things in their culture, and this will be very helpful for you. You can pay your own way, but it's also well worth investigating the possibility of getting sponsorship from a business. All sorts of businesses may be interested in the area you want to visit, and if they support you financially, the money you save will mean you can stay there for longer. Local people, moreover, may well see you as more important in this way than if you just turn up on your own account. But whether you get sponsored or not, the mixture of work in another country and a holiday there is a good one. The people who do this become more interested, more involved in the places, and so they are much more likely to return for further visits. So they commit more, invest more of themselves in the places. And a world in which many people care about other countries based on their own experiences is one that surely has a better future environmentally, as it means more people think about the implications of what they do. Well, that's the theory anyway. I read a newspaper article the other day that was questioning whether the trend for voluntourism will last a long time. It said that although people seem currently quite happy to spend their money directly on local communities, this is just a passing trend, and it will soon be replaced by another one. I hope they're wrong about that. If you decide to go on a volunteering trip, research before you go. There are, at the moment, a bewildering range of schemes you could go for, from the very large to the very small, and you should check the organiser's history. See if they've been organising the trips for some time. You don't want to go for something run by people without any qualifications to do so. Some schemes involve spending time in very remote places, so security is important. It's always best to arrange your own insurance, rather than relying on general policies, and remember that your family will want you to be able to tell them exactly who they can get in touch with while you're away, if they need to get an urgent message to you or want to check that you're okay. And when you do go, pack carefully. Credit cards are not much used in jungles and distant mountain ranges. You don't get phrase books of tribal languages, and you don't find a handy pharmacist on street corners in the desert, so take your own medicines. Some people like to take a whole string of photos, but personally I think it's much better to take a journal and record your impressions in that, in words or sketches. That's the gift to yourself you'll be bringing back.